Hey my Shuga Bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, J.Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo? Welcome back, y'all. You're tuned into the Bougie AF channel. This is your girl, J.Nicole, where I say stay bougie on them, and I'm serving you feminism for the soul. You can check me on Instagram at bougieaf_ish. You can also check me on Twitter at I'm_bougie_AF. So listen, y'all, I'm going to jump right into it. No intro story. We'll just, I'm just talking my shit because y'all know, I like to do too much, but this is not the time. I was really quite disturbed. I tell you, I'm not going to do gangster street shit because I don't want to, there's politics and there's a lot involved in that. But if it's trending and if it's enough being talked about socially, and I feel like there's an opportunity for me to get in there and educate and give people information, then I'm going to do it, right? So with that being said, I was really intrigued when I came across the video of J.Prince and the audio of J.Prince addressing Wack 100. Now, this video that I'm doing, and I'm going to say his name, and I'm not going to go into it yet, right? But his name is Williams Pookey Young, 19 years old in 1973. He was killed by Larry Hoover and the disciples. I think it's they're called the gangster disciples in Chicago, Illinois, for allegedly stealing drugs and money. So we're going to leave it there, right? Because I know people don't like to say people's names, and his name is William, known as Pookey Young, and then people Chicago. And it's really important that we put names on things and that we really acknowledge situations for what they are. And that's what brought me to wanting to talk about this situation in terms of J.Prince addressing Wack 100. And I agree with everything that J.Prince is going to say in this video that I'm going to read for you guys in terms of Wack 100. But I don't like when I feel like somebody is playing on my intelligence and playing on black people's intelligence in terms of knowing that they don't know, right? And so when you have a group of people who don't know, are probably uninformed, or probably that aren't going to look into things further than what you saying it is, because you've built up your name in a way that you have respect behind your name, so people take it for face value. I take nothing a nigga say for face value, to be completely honest, and I'm not even talking about like on some street shit. I take nothing and nobody says for face value. I don't care if you're white, purple, green. Any opportunity I have to look things up and research it and get my own understanding, to come to my own perspective, come to my own point of view, I'm gonna fucking take it. I'm going to take it. So it's really weird to me that people just believe people weirdly like they do, but we live in times where people, even if they are adults, are very much influenced by people like a Wack 100 and J.Prince. And my time on Clubhouse has most definitely taught me, and I've had an experience in real life with just problematic slimeball as individuals like this in terms of Wack 100 in our communities who are doing more harm than good. Let's be clear, Wack 100 is doing harm, right? Anytime you have a man on Clubhouse playing around with creating suicide stories, right, for rooms, to have people in rooms and listen to it. So to play with people's emotions, it's just weird where you have people just coming together and orchestrating conversations to either trigger people, to either bully people, or either to entrap people, or to even put things out in the atmosphere, or to just to garner clout, just doing it for attention, right? So we're seeing a lot of goofy ass shit coming from Wack 100 on Clubhouse, and a lot of despicable behavior, and a lot of things have been exposed about the industry that it's going to be really hard for a lot of people to come back from, right? And I think those examples are of course, Karen Civil, of course, Karen Civil, and who else got caught up in this Wack 100? Nipsey Hussle and his legacy, and Lauren London, and all of them people. I'm trying to think who else has gotten caught up in this bullshit. Kim Kardashian can never come back from what's happening in terms of Wack 100 because of what Wack did. It is most definitely, it kind of exposed Kim for who she really is, like in real life, right? Someone who's exploited her vagina to be a celebrity. Someone who continues to exploit her vagina in terms of, trying to make Ray J look like a scumbag when it's clearly both of you guys are just equally as scummy, right? But you even more, because you'll play a victim, because you'll cry and you'll do all this crazy goofy shit. Like I don't even know how people hang out with someone like a Kim Kardashian. I'll be completely honest. I'm looking at her friend circle really weird, like Lala and them. I think she's friends with Sierra. I know she's friends with those twins. They're weird too. The black girls who I think one of them dates YT or YG or whatever, they're weird, right? I'm gonna have to say you're weird, Lala. I think you're weird for being friends with Kim. I think if you could see that Kim could orchestrate all of this and be about this fuck shit for so many years against a black man, perpetuating this weirdness around Ray J's image, and you're okay with it? Like y'all are good? Y'all good with that? Right? So weird shit happening out here. But a lot of it is centering around the fact Wack 100 is just that's this slimy ass nigga in the industry. No talent himself, but has a talent for finding talent. Right? There's a lot of black men in the industry historically, right? If you really look back, and I'm someone who spent time looking at the history of women in music, right? That brought me to, like, with that being said, the Wack 100s has always been a thing. A nigga who is just a parasite, who finds talent and he just tries to squeeze all he can get out of it, no matter what. Shit be janky. Willing to sign people up with janky contracts, don't do right by people. Like, it feels like it's just a broken, I feel like I'm a broken record because it's just happened so much, right? I bring up Diddy sometimes, and I bring up other individuals. It's like, you eating real well, but I'm not quite sure why your contracts weren't on point for the people who you say are your people, meaning black people. And that's a little weird to me, right? But okay, let me get back into the story. All right, so we're here for Wack 100. So I do have an article, and this article is at Complex, and they are talking about J.Prince accuses Wack 100 of working against him and a fight for Larry Hoover's freedom. His name is William Young, known in Chicago as Pookey, killed at 19 years old. So let's read what it says here. And this was written and posted by Brad Callis. I really like how some of these online publications, they're interesting because look at this picture of Brad. I can barely tell what Brad is. Like, I really have to get close up and see whether or not Brad is white or black. But we're going to go ahead and just assume Brad is white. His name is Brad Callis, and the only reason I point that out, when it comes to certain type of news, certain people, if you're not a person of color, it's going to have a hard time covering. It's not going to hit well a lot of time because they don't know where to go look, and like they just don't know the historical context of like what they're reporting on. So it's a little weird. All right, hold on one second. Why would I do that? That does that. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, so J.Prince accuses Wack 100 of working against him in fight for Larry Hoover's freedom. So he says lying as a nigga. Rap-A-Lot Records CEO J.Prince isn't shying away from expressing his issues with Wack 100. The longtime music manager who recently aligned himself with 6ix9ine, and Wack 100 is the person who aligned himself with 6ix9ine, who was convicted and is also a known snitch. Prince took to Instagram on Monday to blast Wack for working against the Hoover family, as he accused him of trying to profit off of Larry Hoover's name. It's no secret that I'm not going to read this because he actually says it in the video, this part of it. So let me go ahead and just play the video. I've been doing so much reading. I have so much reading to do in these videos.
No secret that I, lawyers and friends freedom that the First Step Act law says he deserves. Meanwhile, this dude Wack and Karen Chapman has taken a position to work against the Hoover family by trying to monetize off his name and withhold footage that could contribute to his freedom. So if it's one thing this Wack dude is telling the truth about, is that I don't fuck with him. When I was in LA talking to this lying ass nigga, never once did he take the position he was partners in the theft of the Hoover families like he's doing on that rehearsed conversation with them clowns. Now, what he is not telling the truth about is why. So listen up. There's a woman by the name of Karen Chapman that was entrusted by the Hoover family to interview Larry Hoover with the understanding of bringing the interview back to the family. She decided to run off with the interview and a fake fraud contract claiming Larry Hoover signed all his rights away for nothing. Larry Hoover is far from being a dummy, so for Wack and Karen to be taking a position on disrespecting the Hoover family by attempting to sell Larry Hoover likeness without the family permission is a mistake for whomever considering buying it. I've been around a long time, and I know when someone is trying to set me up with police conversations. So I won't lip wrestle with you cake-ass niggas on Clubhouse. But I tell you what, I don't know if you were violated on the block or what, but all that snake jealousy and hate shit you have in your heart, niggas, bring that shit to Dr. Prince, and I'ma cure you of that disease. Let me say this to the homies in LA and around the world. All money is not good money. And a nigga that will kiss a rat in the mouth for any amount of money is capable of anything, like sending you on a suicide mission to laugh at you. Read the wisdom between the lines and don't follow this clown off a cliff.
Okay, so that is J.Prince and addressing Wack 100 and everything that is surrounding Larry Hoover and their attempts to free Larry Hoover. Now, if you go back, I did do a video where I have talked about that concert that Drake and what's his name? Drake and Kanye did in Chicago around the time that Kanye released his album, and was at the same time, which is so really weird looking back at it, right? It seems like marketing wise, I don't know how anybody believes or supports Kanye. At this point, we don't know if his crazy is a part of his rollout. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think it's really interesting that anytime that he has something to sell, he really comes out really manic. He really comes out doing really crazy ass shit. And it just seems as if though everybody around the situation, including Kanye, are eating from it, right? You could look at the perspective of, you got Pete Davidson doing videos. You got Kim Kardashian at the same time, her new show on that was it Zeus Network? I'm not really Peacock. I'm not quite sure where it's moved from, right? Because it's not on. I think it was originally on E, so it's not on that anymore, right? So you have all of these things that are going on around people who are being outed for being a part of staging situations and lying about situations for clout themselves, right? Still trying to stay relevant, right? Because time is ticking. And when you've built your career off of sensationalism, drama, and people keeping up with you, you have to create some shit like as you get older, because life is it's not as hectic in your 20s, right? So Kim has a problem. She got to create some buzz for her show, and what other way is it to continue to drag a lie that she helped create it? But anywho, let's get back into this. So that was Wack 100. That was J.Prince, right? And so I agree with everything J.Prince said about Wack 100. Wack 100 is a disgusting person. Wack 100 he's staging these phone calls. I even at times, even with reporting and seeing how everything is going down with Hassan Campbell and all this other stuff, and seeing how willing this nigga is to go against everything that codes and just be really disgusting, right? Like he has no moral code, like he has none of that, right? From hooking up and that's exactly what J.Prince said. From getting in bed with Tekashi 69 to that shit that he did with Karen Civil, because it later came out through Keita that a lot of that was planned, right? I don't, and I'll be 100%. I don't trust anything that comes from Jason Lee. I think he's compromised. The more I think about how that went down and how he got on the line for that, in other situations in terms of his association with Kanye, and allowing Wack to get close to Kanye, I do think that I do think that Jason Lee's not innocent. That's my opinion, right? There's no facts behind that. That's just me just sitting back being the observant fly on the wall that I am. That something's just not right at all, right? All right. So with that being said, so I'm sitting back. I'm watching Wack 100. So he has no code. He'll link up with anybody. And he's poisonous. Like I've noticed the nature of people that he associates with. He turns people into like this slimy ugh. Like I don't. Ugh, I wouldn't associate with anyone who associates with him. Right. I've heard people's tones just reflect this disgustingness that needs to stay in the projects. Let's be completely honest. Like it's project ass nigga mentality that he has, and he's spreading it to people who don't come from where he comes from, who hasn't went through what he's went through, but he's passing this I don't know how to explain, but it's not wisdom he's passing on to younger people. It's his behaviors, his outlook of get down or lay down type of mentality that he's passing on. Like this grimy nature of just ugh sabotaging and bullying and all this other stuff that people who know they ain't built like that are thinking they can go around and act like that. Like I've seen grown ass men in their 50s scream out Pyru, right? Never been a gang in their life, but in their 50s have decided that they are down because they are associating with this weirdo. So when I tell you that this nigga is really trying to take this shit mainstream, yes, and I'm very concerned. So I think from here on out, I'm looking at everybody who has platforms. I'm looking at everybody who has platforms that are giving people like a Wack 100 and anybody associated with his brand or his type of brand, any type of air, because like I said, I think this is dangerous. Same way I think, in terms of people, if I had to think of an example of like what I'm trying to say, right? I think basically what I'm trying to say, what we've seen academics do in terms of drill music and making it mainstream, and really, pushing what was going, like kind of glamorizing deaf culture, right? So he gave that a platform. He helped push it. He helped make it mainstream. And I think in a lot of times, what I'm basically trying to say as bloggers, as media sources and stuff like that, I think you got to be extremely careful not to glamorize what Wack 100 is offering to the world, because it's not needed at all. I'm just being completely honest. Nobody's going to grow from this. Yeah, people are probably going to make money, but I'm saying community wise, and that shit that y'all love when people talk about all the time is what you doing for the community. This is not helping nobody. And again, some people really care about shit like that. I'm not someone who does care, and not because I don't care about saving the community, but I'm someone that's a realist that understand that majority of time people don't do shit for free, and people are looking to get paid behind it. With that being said, there's always that element of people willing to do the most in terms of commit crimes, screw people over, and just really, if you're not, just be gross out here, right? That's just really what it is for me. All right, so with that being said, totally agree with everything that J.Prince said to Wack 100. He's a snake. Wack 100 then replied in the way that Wack 100 knows how to reply. I'll show you here. We're not going to watch a video because y'all know how this shit goes. Wack 100 says he'll slap the fuck out of J.Prince. It's on site. So that was generally what Wack 100 said in response to J.Prince. Wack 100 does a lot of he thinks he's doing a lot of mental gymnastics of trying to talk you into a loop and, think he's confusing you and a whole bunch of woof and loud talking. Ain't no nigga ever woofing and loud talking me, right? Like, I'm not, like, I don't. So I'll never, and I don't feel the need to ever speak to an individual like this, but that's just me. With that being said, one of the things that Wack said, and I feel like a lot of niggas say this, I feel like even with me, people have said this before. Oh, when I met him, dude was nice. Dude wasn't on nothing. I would have smacked the nigga right then and there. And this is a lot of what like Wack is saying. And I know a lot of people who say the same thing about, oh, she ain't like she is on the air. She don't talk like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ditto. Neither are you. You're not nothing. You're nothing like you're trying to say you are in terms of woofing and trying to be tough when you were in my presence, right? Like you presented a certain way and I presented a certain way. Like we were equally respectful to each other. And I feel that same way in terms of when it comes to J.Prince and Wack 100. So I think it's always really funny where he tries to, after the fact, act like he was being Billy Badass in the room. But then when we get video footage of him in the room with Hassan, it ain't like that. It's a whole lot of bro, I'm just trying to look out for Larry Hoover. It's on site. I'm gonna make sure he get taken care. It's a lot of like, nigga, you ain't tough either when you be around niggas. You be jokey and laughy, huggy when you coming out, when we go hook up, all that shit. Like, nigga, you be fronting too. So if you feel like you out here finessing and fooling niggas on some fake love shit and you really rocking niggas to sleep on some fake love shit, nigga, that ain't acting tough in somebody's fucking face. That's being a cornball. Like what is we talking about? What the fuck is we really talking about? Like, y'all are bringing the hood out of me. Like, what the fuck is we talking about, right? So when you say that J.Prince was nice, that means you were nice, my nigga. Period. Don't mean nothing more than that. That don't mean that nigga was a punk. That don't mean that nigga, you bitched him. And the same thing for Hassan. You would, like, to act like you joking and laughing with somebody, but you really mean what you saying, but you hee hee ha ha ha, you laughing around it, right? So it don't come across any type of way, right? Because when you really do have good intentions, let's be completely honest, right? At the end of the day, I'm not mad at Hassan for recording Wack 100, because Wack had put out some behavior and did some things that made him questionable. Like, I can understand questioning him, but I still don't think that means Hassan had bad intentions for meeting with Wack. No, I don't. I think Wack puts out an air, a vibe, the same vibe that I pick up on and other people pick up on it. I think intentions and someone having bad intentions is what we seen from Wack, right? He was the one that after meeting Hassan went on the Clubhouse and tried to down talk Hassan and try to talk shit about him and make it seem like he was punking the nigga. He was the one who did that, right? Hassan is just the person who responded to the shit. So how you telling me that his intentions is bad? But you see, Wack does a lot of when he's online. Oh, you see how grimy he is. What's your intentions? Why would you need to record it? What was your intentions? Why would you need to go off a club? Why would you need to go to Clubhouse and make a conversation and make things seem different than what it fucking really was, my nigga? Right? Don't question my intentions. No, you did some fucked up shit. Like, please. My intentions are like, I'm one of those people, if it's up and I got a problem with you, I don't fake that shit. Like, I don't try to be in people's faces that I don't like. I don't try to do any of that. So I feel like my intention should never be questioned, right? Am I trying to be friends with you? Am I hitting you up? Am I trying to like what? Like, what am I doing that you would even question my intentions? I'm confused. And don't do no shit to me. And my intentions is whatever. And anytime I get a chance to send that shit back, that's what it is. Like, there's nothing to question. Man. Like, it's confusing, right? I think people try to switch things up on like how shit really actually goes. That's how the fuck I feel sometimes. Whew. Stay away from niggas because it brings it out of you, right? But let's get back into like what we're really here about. We are really here about, because I guess this video is going to be kind of long, because there's somebody that I did not like, that J.Prince, one of the things when that concert that Kanye and Drake did, one of the things that I noticed is that I had noticed they kept on mentioning the First Step Act, right? And it kept on saying that this is a tool that could be used this is something that could be used to help free Larry Hoover. And you know, to hear J.Prince say it again, I'm here to tell you guys that's just not true. The First Step Act is not something that could free Larry Hoover. And Larry Hoover is not even in consideration of being freed. Let's, if I take you here, federal judge denies sentencing break to Larry Hoover, one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history. So it's really weird that J.Prince is out here trying to say that, you know, this First Step Act in this footage would help free him. No, this is about money. This is about money. This is about Larry Hoover wanting to make sure that he leaves his family a little bit of something in terms of his image and his story being told. That's literally what this is about. Now, one thing that I thought was interesting that J.Prince said in terms of this Karen Chapman person is that, you know, Larry Hoover's Larry Hoover signed what did he say, a fraudulent contract, and then he followed it up by saying Larry Hoover's no dummy. Then I'm hard pressed to think that if Larry Hoover's no dummy, did he not sign it at all? Is that what we're trying to say? That she forged his signature? Because you stopped short of saying all of that. Because that's easily something that could be, you know, we could get his writing, the way he signed. Or is he saying he just didn't sign it? Do you want to contest the contract as being fraudulent? Like, I'm confused. Or do we want to apply pressure to this Karen Chapman person after the fact that she got this footage and that she's also able to make money off of it? Because that's what it really does sound like. At the end of the day, outside of YouTube men having this pissing contest, it really sounds like he did sign this over. It really sounds like his family then probably got in touch with the J.Prince and you know, really was like, yo, we did this, but this other person has the footage and we have to do a deal with them. But instead of wanting to do a deal with Karen Chapman, they rather work with J.Prince and what he can bring to the table, and he can bring a lot to the table. So it sounds like they want to renegotiate Larry Hoover and their family and want to cut this woman out and want to bring J.Prince in because, of course, again, with J.Prince comes associations with people like a Drake, associations with people like Kanye West. That's what it sounds like, right? So because he knows, J.Prince knows that in court, that contract is going to hold up. Let's be completely honest, right? And that's why I said he was saying things that you're misleading the public, right? You're trying to make it seem as if though someone is trying to fuck over this man, this man we should be concerned about because he's a black man who's wrongfully, the way that you're putting out there, being imprisoned and should be let out of prison, and this is going to help that, as if though we're trying to create like this Nelson Mandela type of feel, as if though free this man, he's a prisoner, he's a political prisoner in some type of way, and that's just not the case here. That's not the case here. I forgot the FBI came out when they did that concert and said nobody's looking to free this man. Nobody. This article came out July 6, 2021. His name is William Pookey Young, and for the fact of the matter that he talking about J.Prince is referring to the First Step Act. It's really interesting because it's not for like violent crimes. It's not for like killing somebody, right? Which he does not want to tell you about William Pookey Young, right? The 19-year-old man that Larry Hoover was sentenced to jail for killing. He don't want to talk about that, right? If I reading this, right, I'm not going to read all of this, but it does a really good job of outlining. This is found, where is this at? The Brennan Center for Justice, and it says, what is the First Step Act and what's happening with it? While much of the law is operating as intended, a secret change is keeping more people in federal prison during the pandemic. I'm not going to read all of this, but let me tell you something. I'll read the first part. The First Step Act is intended to do two things: cut unnecessarily long federal sentences and improve conditions in federal prison. More than a year after it was enacted in 2018, key parts of the law are working as promised, restoring a modicum of fairness to federal sentencing and helping to reduce the country's unconscionably large federal prison population, but other parts are not, demonstrating the need for continued advocacy and more congressional oversight. The way the Justice Department has been handling prisoners released during the um, coronavirus pandemic gives some insight into what's going wrong. President Trump has bragged about signing the law, which was the first criminal justice reform bill in nearly a decade, but simply signing it is not enough. He needs to see it through. Fixing a broken system. The First Step Act is the product of years of advocacy by people across the political spectrum. Indeed, a very similar bipartisan bill nearly passed in 2015, but was dragged down by election year politics. The Trump administration began working on its own criminal justice bill in early 2018, and an initial deal was catalyzed by a core group of bipartisan legislators. It was then refined through a series of compromises and once the Senate decided to pick up the bill, sailed through both House of Congress with a supermajority support. The law we know the law we now know as the First Step Act accomplishes accomplishes two discrete things, both aimed at making the federal justice system fairer and more focused on rehabilitation. Its sentencing reform components shorten federal prison sentences and give people additional chances to avoid mandatory minimum penalties by expanding a safety valve that allows a judge to impose a sentence lower than the statutory minimum in some cases. These parts of the First Step Act are also automatic once the act was signed. Judges immediately began sentencing people to shorter prison terms in cases came before them. Similarly, people in the federal prison for pre-2010 crack cocaine offenses immediately began eligible to apply for resentencing for a shorter prison term. And this is important because, again, they reference the type of crime that they're talking about. And essentially, the First Step Act is about trying to do some reform in terms of what the 94 crime bill did in terms of disproportionately putting black people in jail for nonviolent crimes, right? In terms of crack sentencing. Well, overwhelmingly people, black men were sentenced to like football years for their crimes when they were related to drugs, right? And particularly crack. They did a good right here. Where they talk about relief for harsh sentences. First, the good news is the First Step Act sentencing reforms are off to a strong start. Before 2010, an offense involving 5 grams of crack cocaine, a form of drug more common in the black community, was punished as severely as one involving 500 grams of powder, which, if you historically know, in terms of like drug use, it's always historically been that when it comes to crack cocaine and just regular cocaine and coke, black people were more or less consuming crack cocaine because it's cheaper to buy the coke and cut it down and make crack and sell it right to black people who would be able to afford it more in its crack version than they would be able to afford it in its powder version, which it costs more at that point, right? So that's why crack is just cheaper and easier to sell, basically. And so with that being said, it targets a specific community in terms of its dealers and its consumers. So when you have, like, if you look back and think about the 90s, and I remember because I was born, and when I was born, so I remember the 90s. I remember the commercials, just say no to drugs. And so when you look back and you see all of how it affected the community in such a way, in terms of people were walking around looking like zombies. So everything we know today in terms of people doing these fentanyls and doing these Percocets, that type of vampire-ish crack, like that shit was crazy in the 80s. Like people were getting robbed, people's houses was getting broken in. I remember in the 90s, my house got broken in a couple times. Like it was just a wild, 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 wild time. So with that being said, the 94 crime bill was the answer to that. I don't know. A lot of people hate the 94 crime bill, but I think it's easy to hate something when, looking back at something, and seeing its overall effect. I think people, when it comes to understanding laws and how things, how things are passed, Congress are passing things in terms of laws such as like the 94 crime bill because that's what the public is asking for, right? That's what the public is saying. And I think it's really weird that people think that sentencing and where let me tell you this: if we were giving out 50 like those football gears to white people equally for the cocaine distribution as they were giving them out for people distributing crack, then I would be for it. Let's be completely honest, right? But because there's that disparity, then I'm like, that's fucked up, and people are being punished because of the color of their skin. With that being said, that's my only issue with it, right? I think, talking about the 94 crime bill, I probably, if I was off the porch and I was affected by what was going on, I was in the inner cities, I would have been asking my government to do a little bit more. Like, where y'all at? Like, it's crazy out here. Like, like it's crazy, right? I would have been asking for that. With that being said, like I said, hindsight's always 2020. Like, going back, I think, of course, you wouldn't do such a, disparate, like make such a large difference in terms of sentencing. But we also have to be honest. Was there white people walking around like zombies, robbing each other in the 80s in their neighborhoods and creating gangs and violating people? Like, was that happening? So I'm not quite sure why we even think that, the sentencing could be fair when a majority of the crimes were associated with violence, right? And I think that just takes it up a notch, and that does make it different. So you do have to account for the fact that if white people were distributing cocaine back then, it is just way different than what we've seen people actually doing in terms of in their neighborhoods. It's just not the same. Like, you really can't even kind of compare it, to be honest. Like, the more I think about it, it's like you literally can't compare it because the impact on the black community was far greater than the impact of some white coke dealers. Like, it just is what it is. Coke was always sold to a specific, entertainers, older people. It wasn't quite marketed and wasn't necessarily something that younger people I'm not gonna say you could be you can be a functioning human being and do coke. Let's be completely honest. Like, and that just it's not the same thing for crack. You're not a functioning member of society if you on crack. It's just like, I know there's been some stories of people coming out and saying that I've been on heroin. I don't know. There's this professor who says he's been on some shit for a very long time. But okay, I guess you found your superpower. But that's not reality, right? When you're a crackhead, you are not going to work. If you are, it's only so long you can keep that shit up with that monkey on your back. Like, it just is what it is. Like, so I don't know. I don't think that the expectations is just really weird with people. With that being said, y'all see the crimes that they are referring to. Like, they're referring to just selling drugs, right? They're not talking about violent crimes or anything like that. I bring that up because I just wanted to make sure that you guys go look up what the First Step Act is. It's not what J.Prince is trying to say it is. It's most definitely something to try to offset what has happened in terms of that 94 crime bill and over sentencing within our community. And just really making sure that, we go back and correct some of that and make sure that we're not over sentencing going forward. It's not, I have no idea why he thinks that Larry Hoover would qualify for this. And it repeatedly, he's being denied. Let's be clear. I do believe in reform, right? I know people are going to be like, oh, where's the balance at? Which is really weird because, again, his name is William Pookey Young, 19 years old, right? Asking me for balance on talking about a nigga who created the black, the gangster disciples is really weird to me, but whatever. I'll provide you some balance. So part of that balance is that when when Larry Hoover first was convicted in 1973, he was in jail. He's smooth enough. And when J.Prince says he's no dummy, he is no dummy. He's conniving. He's manipulative. He's very influential. He has all of those personalities that people like to say on the good side, that he's charismatic and he's authentic and he's all of these things, because that's most definitely what people need need to, make people follow behind him. He has all of those qualities. He's like, Larry Hoover has all those qualities. And the reason I'm able to say that without knowing him, when he was first convicted in 1973, he went into jail, and he seemed like he turned his life around. He seemed to like as if though he wasn't doing the gang thing anymore, and he became a model prisoner. I think he was moved into lower security and all types of shit. He was given all types of kind of acknowledgments for change behavior, leading programs. Like, he was that guy that even I think that the warden was bragging about him because he thought he had, Larry Hoover was reformed. Long story short, the entire time he was running the gang from the inside of the prison for like 17 years, right? So, like, at the end of the day, like, cut the bullshit, like, really cut the bullshit. When you talk about reform, he said that's not something that easily happens, and nor does he deserve to be let out. Again, William Pookey Young is his name. I want to play this video for you guys of someone who I thought was really funny, who is really going to break down the last 12 minutes. It's going to be about 12 minutes long. I don't know if I'm going to play it all, but I think he's funny. Like, I like interesting, different people. I'm not, like, I don't, like I said, I be in strange places watching a lot of different things. Shout out Pop a lot. Check him out. I do a lot of like looking at his channel and researching different type of drug and criminal activities and shit like that. 'Cause it's not in a book. It's not in a book. It's just not in the book. Like, it just is what it is. Some of these stories are not in a book, so it just is what it is. So I always appreciate when I can come across these channels and these people who've taken time to research and bring different stories to our attention, because they are part of the social issues that that are happening to society. So it just needs to, you need to find them and talk about them. Let me see. Here goes the video. All right, so this video is by a YouTuber by the name Truth Teller TV. Go check him out, subscribe, like his shit. Interesting. He does a lot of coverage. I think he's in them people Chicago. He does a lot of coverage on gangs, and I was looking at his channel earlier. He does a lot of coverage on gangs and social issues and tell stories and stuff like that. So I find him interesting. I found this breakdown. As much as it's like kind of, I don't want to say zany, but it's different. It's different. But I also want you to pay attention to how it's really hard for him to just literally say, man, it's so hard for people just to admit to the truth of something. Like, it's just because, like, nobody wants to seem like, they a stitch ass nigga, or they trying to be messy and say a nigga deserves to be in jail. Like, this nigga really struggles with saying that Larry Hoover deserves to be in jail, and that's where he needs to stay. Like, and that's really weird. But that lets you know, like, the impact that people have on people, the influence people have on people. Like, there's just nothing, I'm never going to stutter and say that Larry Hoover should be out. Like, there's just not a thing. That's not real. His name is William Pookey Young. I know people don't want to say his name. I know J.Prince want to make it seem like as if though the only reason that Larry Hoover's it's not right that Larry Hoover is in jail is because he want to make it about the fact that the government, what did they do? They tapped his visitors list, and they tapped his visitors. They did all types of shit to find out that he was still the leader of the gang. And who's mad at that? I'm not mad at that. Like some shit, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm really for, our streets being cleaned up. I'm really for young boys not being killed. Like, I'm really for that. And how that has to happen, it just has to happen. I'm not quite sure why people have this special, like, why people get sensitive, get a little weaker, or they lose that toughness and that veracity to actually fight the actual issues, right? Or fight or go against the actual people causing the problems, which is really weird. The way they have all their energy and that smoke for the United States government and feeling as if though they need to do more, but the minute they start, going after people, it somehow, some way, it becomes some type of weird political prisoner shit 30 years later. after people have did the hard work of trying to clean up the streets. Like, that's not how that shit goes. Like, we're not gonna come back around and circle the bend and make turn a criminal into some type of martyr, right? But like I said, I think this is all over money. I think he did sign these contracts, and it just is what it is. All right, so let me go ahead and play this nigga, because like I said, I think he is funny as hell. I hope y'all like him. Okay. All right, go check him out. His name is Truth Teller TV. He's doing his thing. He got over 88K subscribers. Like I said, I do like him. I do like what he did in this video. So I thought it was interesting. I always said I wanted to show this. I don't know if I showed it in my last video. I'm not sure. But here we go.
The only thing about that is those cases are so well documented. It's so much paperwork when it comes to like gang leaders that it would be hard for me to do that. But I am going to break down one today, but it's going to kind of be like a quick breakdown, because more like the conclusion I'm going to give you is more like what I believe everyone is kind of missing. I don't think this is going to be a conclusion where I'm going to tell you what happened, because the paperwork and, you know, the rumors and just living life for that long could pretty much tell you what happened. So we're going to kind of speak on the situation today. A lot of people wanted me to talk about like the Gangster Disciples leader, Larry Hoover. I thought that was kind of hard because he's so big, well known. You know, a lot of people didn't spoke on him. He's kind of like a political leader if you're looking at street figures that way. You get what I'm saying? So it was hard to break that one down, because this video probably will go about 2 days, because there's just so much information, so much conspiracy theories and shit like that. So I kind of want to break it down on a quick side for you guys. Kind of bypass it real quick. So we're going to kind of I'll give you a background on Larry Hoover. I believe Larry Hoover was from, I believe his relatives and shit migrated from like Mississippi. But you know, we're not going to get into that. But Larry Hoover, he was a gang leader, you know, basically the king of the Gangster Disciples, okay? Whether you wanted to call it BGD or however the fuck you wanted to say it back in the day, we're just going to say he's the leader of the gangster.
Again, I always do point out the fact that he pointed out that Larry Hoover's family migrated from Mississippi, which is, if you go back and look at the migration map of the Great Migration of Black people from the South to the North, that is the route. A lot of people moved from Mississippi. They moved to the Chicago area. So that's really important to actually kind of put in reference on, like, you know, this is 1950. The Great Migration went from 1910 to I think it's about 1910 to no wait 1910 to about 1971. They say it happened in between. So this is around that time frame. I think that's important because in each of, even if you talk about like California and Chicago, when gangs were created, we're talking about conditions in terms of Black people having a hard time to find jobs, kids having a hard time finding something good to get into, and themselves not having any opportunities to make money, and really coming from poor families, right? And what ends up happening when people come from poor families and have poor background, you see crime and stuff like that. So you know, that's literally what happened in terms of like Larry Hoover, in terms of they believe that the gang started in the schools. Just this is what happens, like when people don't have access to jobs, to income, like to resources and all this other stuff.
The disciples, he was very known as very treacherous, you know. Now, before we get into this, I don't really want people to get me wrong on this one, because I do believe that a lot of bad energy came from the movement that he started. Not saying it wasn't started for good. I understand back in the days there was a lot of racism shit going on, and it was very strongly urged to want to protect your communities. But with anything good, bad always come out of it. But I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of bad things that came from the energy of, you know, the Gangster Disciples and shit like that. Not to say everything was bad, but eventually a lot of bad energy came. We're going to go blah, 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 kind of speed it up. The police realized that this guy has a lot of power, you know what I'm saying? So they claimed that in 1973, all right, that this guy ordered a hit, I have it. So he's responsible for the killing of, I believe, this 16-year-old dude. I could be wrong, but I believe he was 16 years old, shot 4 times in the head. He was given 150 years for that. They also put things of him under the Gang Act to kind of help give him those big years and shit like that, He sat in jail for a while. I believe in 1997, while he was locked up, they do some bullshit and realize that he still runs the game from inside the jails. He still is the man from inside the jail. So he ended up getting 6 life sentences, okay? 6 life sentences, because I guess people are getting killed and murdered, and he's ordering hits or whatever the police are saying. Now, think about this. He was very smart. He didn't allow them to catch him up on anything, so they kind of used his friends, his visitors, the people that came to visit him. They put, like, little fake bugs and microphones in their passes and shit like that. You get what I'm saying? So when they came to visit Larry Hoover, they didn't know that they were mic'd up and bugged up, and they end up catching all Larry Hoover conversation. And I'm not going to lie, when you listen to it, because I listened to the tapes, I listened to some of the transcripts, I read through a lot of paperwork, I sifted through some, and I'm not going to lie, from what I heard, you could pretty much tell that this guy Larry Hoover still had a stronghold, okay? He still had a stronghold on the Gangster Disciples. Now, I know that might hurt for me to say that. You guys might be upset. Truth, you're going along with the government. You're going along with the government. He didn't just shoot people and shit. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying he did what they accused him of doing, but I want you guys to understand, this was some gang leader shit, His energy put guns in a lot of young men's heads, His energy caused a lot of people to be stuck and hooked on drugs and shit like that, A lot of robberies, a lot of bad things happened in those communities that Larry Hoover had a stronghold on even when he was locked up. That's not just to put it to him, but look, we ain't gonna sit here and act like this guy was just goddamn it like Justin Bieber. He was just a good little boy. This nigga was treacherous. Don't get it confused, you feel me? But at the same token, we're not going to just go along with what the police saying because they do be having agendas. But I'm not going to lie, when you listen to those tapes and shit, you clearly can tell that this was the motherfucking undisputed leader, boss, king, top-notch nigga of the motherfucking GDs, you feel me? He was laying laws down, he was putting the script down, he was telling niggas how it's going to go, and it sounded like he was telling motherfuckers to throw parties and shit. It sounded like he was ordering hits, I'm not going to lie. Okay? All right? All right? Okay, that's what the fuck they think.
Look, I love his honesty. But like I told y'all, he's struggling with just saying what it is. Like, nigga, like you was still doing the most 17 years later. So we're talking about from the time you were on your streets to the time you were in prison for about 17 years. Like you were still with the shit. So like I said, when J.Prince won't say William Pookey Young, right? When he tries to manipulate the public's opinion about Larry Hoover and tries to insinuate that he's some type of political prisoner. We all should know by now, if you have ever visited someone in prison, like now they let it be known you're recorded. If you are sitting behind like the screen type of situations or like the phone, like those are all recorded. So I don't know if it was something different in 1973 where it wasn't made known or people just thought because they were having private conversations. I have to look into that because basically they're trying to say like, they entrapped him, but I still don't think that's entrapment, right? When I think about like the definition of entrapment. Well, it could be. But do we give a fuck, right? Do you care? I don't care, right? Now, I wonder, though, if we're talking about entrapment and, does it not imply in terms of like the wiretap and all that stuff, do those laws not imply once you are mandated to the state? And I think that's probably what it is. That once you're mandated in terms of you are warded to the state. Listen, I'm no lawyer and I don't play one on TV. I'm just throwing things out there and giving you something to think about because I'm thinking about it, and so I'm just talking out loud. So I will, look into things a little further, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Them being, ward to the states, that maybe that does not apply to them. So That's the only thing I can think of. So I'm just trying to think out loud.
Trying to say. Then they say, you know, like I told you, that in 1997, he gets caught up in a conspiracy. Okay? He get caught up in a conspiracy, all them little charges and shit like that. Then he gets 6 life sentences. All right? The conclusion basically is he's going to sit in a prison, a supermax. Okay? He's going to sit in a supermax until he dies. All right? In Colorado. Okay? That's where the hell he's at, in the supermax in Colorado. Barely gets to go out. He done been in home confinement. He done been in solitary confinement for over 20 years. All right? He just recently was allowed out. He hasn't been able to touch his family, talk to his family, anything in a long ass time, okay? This is the problem I got, though, right? Because it's hard for me to say they did this guy wrong. This guy should be home, man. He didn't do it. And, you know, we heard the tapes. Now, whether they got the tapes the right way, you know, tricking your friends, setting people up, that's the wrong way to kind of imprison someone. I would have liked for them to do it the right way. You know, that was a personal conversation. You know, if you're going to lock him up, do it the right way. Don't entrap him, you know. But I'm not going to act like that wasn't on them tapes, okay? But here go my problem. I believe with all the violence that's going on in the city of Chicago, you know, this was the perfect person for a pardon. You know, pardons are something that presidents do once they get to leave office. You know, they kind of want to put a stamp on what they did, you know. If you got a guy who was maybe locked up and the time was too maybe aggressive, too much time for that case, or somebody that you feel could do better out here on the street and it served a lot of time, you know, it's a few of these guys you can pick to let go out of jail. Basically a second chance card, to get out a free card. Donald Trump used that shit on Kodak Black. Now, I'm not knocking Kodak. I respect it. I'm not knocking him, but I'm just saying, you know, he used that shit on Kodak. You know, when I think Larry Hoover would have been a perfect person to do this. Think about it. This guy been locked up about 47, 48 years. Do anybody think this guy is still a gang member? Like, don't get me wrong. This guy's been locked up that long. This guy, I believe, is 69, 70 years old. Do you really think he's finna come out here and smack the fuck out one of these kids and take these streets back? These shawties don't even listen to their mama. They don't even listen to their daddy, man. They don't care about 12. They don't care about the judge. They don't care about their homie girlfriend. They don't care about nothing. What make you think they finna come and listen to some 70-year-old last man because y'all talking about he was the shit back in the 60s? They ain't finna listen to him, man. I ain't saying a lot of people won't, but they ain't finna listen to him. You understand what I'm telling you? I think Larry Hoover would do way more good on the streets right now, telling the youth to stop this violence, to cut this shit out, follow his movement, do it the right way. I think Larry Hoover can help people on the street right now. If you ask me, this man ain't got shit to gain by joining no gangs again. He got everything to lose by joining that type of organization again. He has nothing, I'm talking about, it's nothing in the world he can gain by telling the motherfucker, don't stand out there on 79th and sell no drugs. Ain't shit he can gain from that. It's more shit that he can gain by bringing structure to an organization like a charity, by being a promoter, by getting on Vlad TV and these interviews and speaking like a big homie and shit like that. Be able to sign rappers, open up job opportunities for young men. I think the feds is afraid that he gonna put the spotlight on what's really going on in the neighborhoods. I think the feds is afraid that he's gonna fucking expose what's really going on, because they want you to know about Millennium Park. They want you to know about the little beam and shit. They spent $300 million on a beam. They want you to know that they spent another $1 billion on free Wi-Fi. Who give a fuck about that, man? Y'all should spend that money on free babysitting so everybody can be out here with an opportunity to get jobs. Y'all should give jobs, tax breaks if they have somebody who haven't worked in a couple of years. How about...
I think the feds think that he's killed more William Pookey Youngs than he could save more William Pookey Youngs. That's what I think. I think the feds don't want to make a martyr out of someone who does not deserve it because, again, it's not that anybody thinks this old-ass man is going to pick up a gun, but nor do I think he has the influence into today's society to make niggas put down a gun either, to be completely honest. So do I think that he would do some good. Yes, I think he could probably save 100 niggas, right, from going to the street. 100, right? But I'm here to tell you, he's killed, or he's created an environment, or he's created a gang that's killed over hundreds of men. There's times when there's news that come out of Chicago due to the gang violence that there be a weekend where 100 people will either get shot. A weekend, right? So this is where you talk about value, and does the good outweigh the bad? And right now, his good, or his potential good, or whatever you would think he could do good, does not outweigh what he has done. I think, again, this whole conversation going back to Wack 100 and J.Prince is about his legacy and wanting to leave his family something. That's what this is about. But it's not because this is a good man that should be freed at all. But I like him. I think he's funny. I still, like I said, I'm one of those people that can disagree with you and still find you valuable and still like your work. And he's one of these people. But again, I think he's saying all this shit because he want to make sure that he ain't coming across that he's with the police and as if though he, trying to, support the police. And that's really important, which is really weird in this community. We want the police to stop the violence. We want all this shit, but at the same time, we don't want to come across as though we support the police.
Shit like that, free housing for people who need that shit. How about y'all do shit like that, cut some of this rent out? Because you ain't raising minimum wage up that much, but you keep raising motherfucking rent out. How about you do that? You see, I don't think people see that shit. I think that they're afraid that he's going to expose and bring the spotlight on what's really going on in the hood. And I don't think, the government in Chicago really want that to go on, if you ask me. I think this is the perfect person to give a second opportunity to. I believe violence will go down if he was getting out of jail, if you ask me. I think that should go down. Now, I ain't saying it go down a whole bunch, because it might just go down like 0.1. The these niggas out here crazy, but it will go down. You get what I'm saying? I think Larry Hoover will be the perfect person to talk to the youth. Who else you gonna get to talk to the youth? Lil Durk? We're gonna have a young leading the young again. Who you gonna go get to tell them to stop the violence? Who you gonna go get? Fredo Santana? That's who you gonna get. R.I.P. Fredo Santana. He not here no more. That's probably a bad example. Who you gonna go get? You gonna go get Chief Keef? That's who the fuck you gonna go get? Think about it, man. I think these people are listening to Larry Hoover. I think he'll be like Louis Farrakhan for the young people. But I don't think the feds and the police want that to happen, I think they want him to deal with these murders that
All right, so yeah, I mean, this is the part that makes me uncomfortable. He's talking about, Louis Farrakhan and all this other stuff, and these men who aren't necessarily, yeah. I don't, like you said, I think out of everybody he just named, Chief Keef probably be the best one. I mean, he's out the way now. I think he's in People's Arizona. I don't even think he's allowed back in Chicago, right? So I'm pretty sure, he's growing out there and learning and, coming to a peaceful existence. I hope he didn't reestablish any bullshit in People's Arizona. But because literally what ends up happening. I'm not even gonna be really honest. People either move from cities like Chicago or did prison and moved somewhere else and created new sects, and so that's why you have such a influence of I'm not influence, but you have a big population or a big gang of the gangster disciples that's awful also in the area of Memphis, Tennessee. So you see their gangs, kind of the same type of gangs are there too. But that's a lot of time what ends up happening. This culture spreads, right, and they reestablish. Even in terms of if we talk about the Crips and the Bloods, we have Crips and Bloods in New York, right? So that most definitely lets the culture spreads, and so that's why it's so dangerous. And that's why I do say when it comes to people like a Wack 100, I'm very concerned about him trying to make this mainstream. I'm very concerned about all these gang members wanting to do podcasts, and that's direct influence into our children's ears, right? So I think everybody should be concerned, right? Because the way that Wack 100 approaches life and how he deals with people is very scummy. I don't think anybody should feel good about it. I'm also going to play you guys a recording of and when I talk about, because I want to make sure that I provide you evidence, a recording of when I say the type of atmosphere that Wack creates. I'm literally telling you, this nigga is really, truly garbage with what he is putting out in the ethos and how he is influencing young people.
It happened, and I'm not saying that shit ain't happening, because them people who, goddamn it, people who died by the hands of the signal from the motherfucking him who gave that signal, they probably don't want his ass out of jail. But I'm just saying, if it was a law where it was a loophole where somebody could get out of jail for a second opportunity that can do good, that can help the youth, because it's 500-600 people dying every day in Chicago. 700 people a year down in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's over 1,000 every 2 years. That's over 2,000 every 4 years. That's over 4,000 every 8 years.
With those numbers that he's saying just now, and who created this? Who created this? And who for 17 years, once he was in prison, continued it. Right? So again, yes, all of those murders aren't on him in that type of way, but at the same time, like, come on now. Right? Come on now. All right, so let me shout out to Truth Teller TV. Please go like. But let me I'm trying to figure how I can play this audio for you guys, so just bear with me. Bear with me. Okay, so the audio that I'm going to play for you is of two women that are arguing about Wack 100. And they're essentially arguing about their loyalty to Wack 100. And a lot of times with manipulative, narcissistic ass people like a Wack 100, they try to create like pins and needles type of situations. And if you don't know what that is essentially where you create like this weird, like if you say something, I'll say something type of relationship with people, like where you actively try to get information on people to have something over them. Like he creates that weird degenerative, like I don't even know, like immoralistic type of environment that is just, like I said, it is really ugly. Hold on one second. Really ugly. I totally forgot I had this recording, so I would have had it loaded, but again, like I said, I forgot. Okay, let me see. All right, so I found it. Hold on one second.
Right, it can only come from her. But then Nikki is slick. She tell us some shit to where it's kind of like, get the bitch, I want to see if you lower the whack or you not. Either way it goes, a line up. Because Nikki was going to eventually come. Nikki was going to eventually come and say, your Bronx let you know that I told her this, and then I would have looked at Bronx like, motherfucking female tell you they pregnant by me. You don't come tell me this shit floating around. So so I see what's going on, right? So Nikki tells you, I'm pregnant by Wack. Nikki knows she ain't pregnant by no fucking Wack, but she knows. And what I do, I dialed your number, didn't I? You definitely called. Okay, and it never went no further than that. You did the right thing. So and it never went no further than that because I knew what the shorty told you. So I told you, hold on, because now you made me tight, bitch. I told you, swear your dad's dead casket, bitch. I said, Wack got me pregnant. Swear on your dad's dead casket. Swear on your dad's casket that I said, Wack got me pregnant, bitch. So swear on your dad's casket, bitch. Swear on your daddy's casket. I said it to you, bitch. You're a lying bitch. How you been on your dad's
Okay, so let me explain to you guys what's going on. So you have this retarded ass girl on Clubhouse, right? I'm not even gonna say her name because that's my thing. I don't say weak bitches' names, right? Especially when bitches are out here caping for niggas they have never even met, or arguing over niggas they've never even met in like real life, right? So what you see is two women, right? And this is what happens a lot of times, and it happens in everybody's hood where two niggas will play women against each other, and or they're creating this atmosphere where niggas feel like they gotta compete for something. Not quite sure what these women are competing for. So you have one woman, her, let's just call her, because I don't want to make it obvious, let's call one woman Montana, right? Because nobody's in Montana. All right, so you have one woman, her name is Montana, and then you have another woman, and her name is Remedial LPN, right? So you have Montana and the Remedial LPN, right? I guess they know each other from always being on stages and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, they must have gotten to a private conversation. And what you have is that Montana must have been confiding in Remedial LPN, and just telling her something. I was telling her something of her life story, something that was going on with her, blah, 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 blah. You have Remedial LPN that decides, okay, well, whatever, bitch, what you know, this is how the way, literally, you're going to hear her say it. Okay, bitch, you want to talk to me private? Let me test you, bitch, right? Type of weird ass way of like weird shit, right? So you have Remedial LPN deciding that, okay, bitch, you want to have a private conversation with me to genuinely just talk to me and kind of connect, like human being shit, right? Connect, talk to people. So you have, Montana trying to connect with Remedial LPN, but Remedial LPN took it as an instance where I want to test this bitch and see what she's about. All right, so Remedial LPN offers up information in terms of like, and this is, the mindset sort of like same way how Wack 100 operates. So Remedial LPN decides, you know what, I'm gonna tell this bitch this and see what she do with this, right? Playing these weird remedial ass, like high schoolish ass games, right? So you have Remedial LPN says that she told the Montana girl that she was just pregnant. Now, this is how you know the Remedial LPN is just remedial, because why would anyone be concerned about somebody and who someone is pregnant by if they don't know them personally, they don't know their baby daddy? Because again, this person says she didn't tell who she was pregnant by, she just said that she was pregnant. Why would someone want to call Wack 100 and tell Wack 100 that you're pregnant with no name attached to it? Like, what would be the reason? Like, what would be the story? What would be the reason why someone would want to call Wack? But again, she felt like she wanted to test Montana and tell her some bullshit and see what the fuck Montana would do with it. I believe what Montana is saying, because why else would, I call Wack 100 and tell him, if you weren't out here telling me that you were pregnant by him. Again, the Remedial LPN has never met Wack 100. Will fly off the deep end, will be on stages calling people all types of bitches, you fat this, you this, that, going real hard to defend this nigga and when he's wrong, right? Takes it as her badge of honor. That's what she's going to do, right? Real nigga shit. I'm gonna look out for my nigga. I'm gonna protect my nigga. I'm gonna have my niggas back. Blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, this nigga has a whole wife and probably other bitches he fucking on, right? Or whatever. But she thinking she's doing all this to win like some type of to show her loyalty and win some type of loyalty from him, and just to show him how down of a bitch she is, because that bitch ain't shit. Because basically what Wack's saying is, if the Montana girl never came back and told him what the bullshit as Remedial LPN girl said, then he would have felt some sort of way about the Montana girl, because the Montana girl decided not to be messy and come back and relay gossip. Like listen to what I just described to y'all. If that didn't sound like some fuck nigga shit to you, I don't know what some fuck project ass nigga shit to you, then I don't know what some fuck project ass niggas you've been around. But that is some fuck project ass shit, right? Like, that is just so fucking weird. If you're telling me something to see if I'm going to tell somebody else, like, that's just, I think if you need to go that route, just stop fucking with somebody. Like, just stop fucking with somebody. Like, that does not make any sense, right? So Like, that does not make sense. Like, that does not make sense. That does not show that somebody's loyal to you or disloyal to you. Like, like, if I, no, like you people have not met each other. Why would Montana be required to come back and relay gossip to somebody? Why you as a man, if a bitch that you know that you ain't never met, like why would people feel like they need to run back and tell you this? Because it's the atmosphere that you're creating. It's the reason why you have these pins and needles situations with certain people, like a Kim Kardashian, where you can extort from money, and Kim and Kanye, or like a who else are you out here extorting? What's the Oscar De La Renta? Like, you know exactly what the fuck you do, and you's a fuck ass nigga, Wack 100. You are disgusting. You're out here using people in situations to get information, and so that way you can then, in return, go apply pressure and extort motherfuckers. You ain't slick. Like, why else would you be creating this weird shit right here? Because if Montana did go back and tell Wack what the remedial LPN said, and then Wack, if he felt some sort of way, would have confronted the remedial LPN, like, why you out here lying on me? Like what? Like, this is strange. This is strange that a man almost in his 60s is out here behaving like this. And that's why I say I can't appreciate J.Prince calling him out, because, like, just sitting and listening to this shit, like, I feel like my brain cells be dying. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Like, why would anybody want to be a part of this mess? Oh, I'm just gonna tell her something to hear what she said. And I know people have done that to me. I ain't got shit to say about you until you got something to say about me. Like, for real. And I'm not talking about no clubhouse shit. I'm talking about in real life, to the bitches who I know. Like that's just weird. Like, so it just is what it is. Fake I could never be. Y'all ever know somebody who, y'all, this is random because I'm done with this video. Y'all ever know somebody who's just like delusional, like who wants to front and act like you're the fake person, but whole time you know that they've been out here talking about you, so they sit on the fucking social media and throw subs about, like, people are just so fake, I had to, get my life together. No, you were just a hoe, and so you had to stop fucking on niggas and go to church and rebrand yourself. All right, y'all know how I do it here. I keep it bougie SF, posh SF, black SF, and y'all be black, y'all. I am out. Kisses.